YUNKJunk!
Listen, you jerk. Toni Collette deserved an Oscar for her performance in Hereditary.
Listen, you jerk. Hereditary is a horror film, but it's not even horror.
Hey, welcome to Listen, You Jerk, the show where we're going to talk about Hereditary and how great the acting was in it, as well as other interesting story elements. From Ozzy, I'm Terry. That's Ozzy. Let's get into it because nobody likes waiting for a YouTube video to start. Here we go.
Run it.
Here's a fact. Toni Collette, that's one of the best performances I've ever seen in a movie, period.
100%.
She's putting on an absolute clinic, and I wanted to talk to you about it because she does 5 to 6 different personas kind of in this movie.
And bleeds every single one of them.
100%. Bleeds, interesting word.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about kind of what they are. First of all, there's the kind of the dissociated one, the one who's like not really into her family.
Yeah.
Like doesn't really seem to like her son or her husband or even her daughter. Detached.
Yeah.
That's a good word. That's where we start the film, right? Is with this detached person. And she plays it like a depressed lady in real life.
Yep.
Every bit as annoying as you can be as like one of those moms who's clearly trying to project things and not quite there. What did you feel about the first time we meet her?
I almost got that like it felt what's that when you postpartum disorder?
Yes.
It almost felt like that a little bit, where it was just like she just couldn't like attach to her family. It was the relationship with the husband felt strange. She just didn't seem like she wanted to be there, which was interesting for me.
Okay, so detached, played perfectly, amazing, clearly not interested, and also kind of like in her own mind.
For sure. Definitely internalized, definitely dealing with her own shit, whatever, which we've come to find is more than just the death of her mother.
Yes, and we start at the funeral, right? We're going down the casket in a very cool shot where they clearly cut a hole.
The opening scene was such a cool shot for me.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That was like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fucking love this movie. Pay attention now.
And I believe this is the director of Midsommar. As I know it's the director of Midsommar,
Right.
but also Beau is Afraid, right? Dylan, do you know?
Fact check.
Is it Ari Aster? Ari Aster. Okay, this dude's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He is just doing everything right and showing me something that I haven't seen. Like 3 films in the past, since when did this come out? 2018?
2018.
3 films, all of them bangers visually with very interesting writing and direction and placement. I haven't finished Beau is Afraid, but I can certainly speak to Midsommar as far as like some of the interesting shots and secret stuff in there, which we'll talk about later. But I will bet you that postpartum thing is literally an allusion to what happens later in the film.
I mean,
I didn't even think of that until you just said that.
I would, and maybe it's my background with mental health stuff, whatever, but that's how I saw the whole movie like that. Like the entire thing. I mean, yes, it's a horror film, but the entire time when we watch this movie, I'm making my own comparisons to mental health disorder, whether it's, I mean, the entire movie is different stages of the whole thing, whether it's grief or whatever. Hereditary is a double entendre for mental health and what happened in the movie.
Yeah. So, okay. So, yes, Toni Collette does this beautifully.
Yeah,
and my God, I didn't
absolutely
even think of that. But yeah, that's got to be conscious.
Yeah.
And if not by
absolutely
the
had to be.
director, then definitely by.
Had to be. Writing, whoever brought that into it, there's not a doubt in my mind on that one. Sometimes I'm like unsure if I'm just reading too much into something or whatever, but I'm certain of that.
So, and I wouldn't necessarily call Toni Collette the main character when we first meet her. I think the little girl is the main character first.
I think
the son.
I think Paimon's the main character.
Whoa. Technically speaking.
He inhabited like all the characters.
That's true. That's true. That is true, dude. Okay, so the first one's kind of a depressed lady. Now the next one is grief that I've never seen captured.
That was
ever.
Oh my God.
I've never seen that.
That was visceral for me, and I don't have kids or anything. I can't even imagine that pain, and I'm like, and I can kind of imagine it now.
I have never seen a pain like that.
Yeah.
Ever on screen. Like, you know, there's a big difference between what Toni Collette is doing and Darth Vader going, no.
Yeah, exactly. Which was still good,
but not at all at the same time. Like that's there's certain things you do when you're acting or when you're directing that you're intentionally being cheesy because you literally don't have what it takes to actually go for it and mean it. A lot of people do this in comedy where they're like sarcastic people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just sarcastic. No, you're not. You're depressed. You don't believe in yourself and you won't try something corny and actually put in the talent to pull it off so it's not corny. Toni Collette goes for it harder than I've ever seen someone cry. Ever.
And
it's not weird. It's not cheesy. No. It's not funny. It's not corny. It's heart-wrenching.
The shot on that,
unbelievable.
Where the shot is sitting outside of the bedroom door, outside of it, watching in on the husband consoling her while she's screaming and moaning, and then it just doesn't move 90 degrees and it turns, and then he's just sitting there like the son is just sitting there like listening. It's like, that's fucking perfect. I felt like I felt like I was in the room almost the entire movie. Like I was just like someone like kind of ghost watching this.
Yeah. But when I mean this grief is insane. I've literally never seen acting like this before. Of showing that emotion of losing a child. Spoiler. We're gonna spoil this whole thing, but really that's the point of this show is we're not technically just talking about the story. We're talking about the interesting aspects of it. You should have already seen it.
Also,
just so you know. I love you. Thank you for watching, but you watch the movie.
I feel like you shouldn't be here if you don't want spoilers. I mean, we're analyzing a movie, right?
Yeah.
You'll get spoilers.
Yes, we will.
When we're talking about emotion from like the loss and like that, like hers, the kid also deserves a huge nod from when when that happens. Spoiler.
And that kid was on Broadway playing Matilda.
Oh, nice.
So used to being a weird kid.
Right. Well, that scene when the head comes off and he just sits over and parks, doesn't look back.
Oh, we're talking about different kids.
Oh, yes.
I'm talking about
not Charlie. I'm talking about Peter. When he's driving with her and she puts her head out the window and, takes her head off. That was the most realistic thing I've ever seen, because I don't know. I mean, nobody can imagine what they're going to do in that situation.
Yeah.
But he thought about looking back. It gave the shot where it's like kind of looking into the rearview mirror, and he just couldn't bring himself to look back there, and he just goes home and leaves her dead body in the car.
Yep.
It's like that was beautiful in my mind. Like I couldn't. I've never seen acting like that either.
Yeah. I definitely want to go to him too. I mean, the acting of this whole movie is top notch.
Yeah.
Like, and horror movies are famously known for not having great acting. And it's funny you say this isn't exactly a horror movie. It isn't exactly a horror movie. You're right. But and the acting being extremely top notch, I think, is part of it. Everything's believable.
Right.
So,
yes.
So, yes. What happens is little girl sticks her head out of the window because she's having an allergic attack.
Shock. Yeah.
And is trying to breathe and loses her head to like a telephone pole or something.
Yes.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up, not to go on a tangent, is that the directing of what you're just talking about and the sound design is what makes that scene especially haunting, other than the kid who plays Charlie's performance. Who is that? Is it Riz Ahmed? No. He's some kid, right?
I'm not sure, but I recognize him. Maybe from that mole. Sorry, buddy, but I'm pretty sure that's how I recognize him. I don't know his name.
So the directing in that is it just stays in the shot. You hear the thunk.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah, that happens so much, dude.
Beautiful sound design.
Yeah, I was sick to my stomach when I heard that.
But then they do cut to it the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's like bugs and stuff on it. So it is like, there's the horror part of it.
You didn't show the head come off. You cut away from it. But then you go back and it's like, there's a decapitated head covered in maggots. Like,
yes.
Right.
And there, in between these two scenes, you did see just a little bit of mom. You did see a little bit of Toni Collette just being a mom.
Yeah.
Of like, Charlie's weird, take care of your sister type of thing. And well,
good one.
You could kind of say, I don't know. Well, the little girl says she'll scream and tell mom if she can't go with him, right?
No. So the son gets a text from his friend saying, hey, party it, such and such, let's get drunk. And then he goes and asks mom, can I borrow the car? I'm going to go to a party. He says it's a school, or I'm going to go to a school barbecue. Mm-hmm. He says, can I borrow the car? She like asked multiple times, like, are you drinking? Are you drinking? She's like, I understand. Like, you're a teenager, you're going to drink, but like, are you drinking? I'm not giving you my car if you're drinking. Mm-hmm. He says, no, I'm not. Then Charlie goes outside, like in a weird, like, I don't know what to call it. Kind of like fugue state, whatever. But she's just like out there in her socks in the yard.
Yeah.
Toni Collette yells at her. She's like, "What are you doing? You know,
Yeah, that's the mom part that I'm talking about.
And then she's like, you're going to the school function with Peter." And then Peter's sitting there like, "Fuck." But she's like, she's like,
her fault.
Yeah. Well, that comes up later in the movie when they're having that dinner.
That's true.
Because she goes nuts and starts tearing Peter to shreds, and then Peter, like, which I don't even know how I'm gonna take that type of abuse from my mother.
Yeah.
When it comes, like, that was outrageous.
You killed my daughter.
Yeah. And he's sitting there like dead inside, and then he looks up and he's just like ice cold. He's just like, "What about you, Mom?" He's like, "You made her come with me. Like, she wouldn't have been there. She didn't want to go." Because, like, she was like, "I don't want to go." And then Toni Collette's like, "You're going," like being a mom. But like,
and this is perfect because that is the fourth character that essentially Toni Collette plays, which is the angry.
Yes.
Not widow. What's a bereaved?
Grieving. Grieving.
Well, grieving is when she's losing her lunch. She's terrified. This is where she's now a bitch. Now she's being really mean.
Right.
And playing a different role. This is not a kind mom anymore. This is is a monster, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Well, no, it's not, because that's coming up.
Nice.
We're clever on this one. This is just a mean woman. This is a bitch.
Dude, the
goes into bitch mode.
It's so when I was watching, and part of that was a huge thing, was how many different like characters she shows. For me, it felt almost like she was doing like a realistic like mom's embodiment of the stages of grief. And then that's how it felt to me, right? And then so she's going through those stages, she's angry, denial, like, whatever. And then finally, like, when everything goes to shit, that's like the mental breakdown, which is why, again,
so she doesn't get to acceptance.
No, well, I think the acceptance is probably when she took the piano wire to herself.
That's true. Spoilers.
It's true.
So, oh my God, dude. Maybe it's not the, and we can't say the word or we'll get flagged on YouTube. Like, they won't promote the content if we talk about it, but the unaliving of it all.
Oh, yes.
Maybe it's not the path to, maybe it's not the steps of grief, but maybe it's the warning signs before someone does that.
Like,
that would make
sense.
You're
going through the grief, and then at a certain point,
you're not really there for.
Right. Oh my! And at a certain point,
deep.
At a certain point, you will get your acceptance, like you said, which she does not get, or you descend, which is what we saw.
Yeah. So we have the bitch, but then she becomes an actual monster. She is inhabited by a demon. Her face, good God, this woman's face is incredible.
Yep.
And how she can contort it and change it. But this is now an evil monster person. Yes. There's something inside. We're doing exorcist-like things. We're in it. It hasn't been a tried and true horror until right now.
Right.
Now it's
I didn't even think it was. I thought it was
witches are real, demons are real. It's all real.
Yeah.
That's where this gets insane. Now, I'm missing a part, though. When does she relate it to her mom?
So I don't remember what triggered her going into there, but she went through her mom's. Remember at the beginning, she was going through her mom's like boxes and stuff, and like saw a picture and was just like, didn't pay attention to it because she wasn't close to her. Mm-hmm. Then once she realizes, like, hey, like, I think there's something going on here. She's like going through her mom's belongings, and that's when she finds like that she's like the leader of a cult, and then she sees the picture of Joan in the booklet that was like her lieutenant. So like that's when she realizes everything. She's going through her mom's belongings. She's like, wait a minute, like this isn't just me being crazy. Like there's something going on right now.
Yeah. Is that after she's inhabited by the demon thing?
No.
That's before.
No, that's before.
Well, yeah. She's trying to now that it's in her, she'll come out of it every once in a while and try and explain.
Yes, I think that's where
that's where she's shifting between like this evil thing and this like
right, which I think was beautifully written in. They planted that little tiny seed about the sleepwalking thing.
Yeah,
and then now she's going in and out of this demon. So we think like, hey, like, okay, like, is she just sleepwalking again? Like maybe she's just going nuts. That's what the family's thinking. So it's like, you really don't want to believe that she's got a demon until the very, very, very end.
It's not as intense as that grieving scene was in Over the Top. The horror is a little more subdued, but it's
so subtle.
But it's evil. Like you could see in her eyeballs.
Yeah. When the sun comes into the room and she's up in the roof, like hiding in the corner, like and it just pans a little bit and it's like, oh fuck, like she's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. And then this leads directly into where she becomes horrified of everything. But the culmination and horrified, like nobody does this better. She's a scream queen.
Oh yeah. She's great. She's absolutely great.
Interesting thing. The reason we got here is because we mentioned her alongside other famous scream queen who gave in one of the best performances of the year, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
And we talked about Toni Collette earlier in an episode called The Way, Way Back. So for you eagle-eyed viewers, Toni Collette's been with us this whole time.
It's an Easter egg for the loyal.
But now I don't want Toni Collette to ever be near me again because she's terrifying in this.
Yeah.
But then we see her, it flips. Now she's terrified.
Yes.
And there's no better scene to show how terrified she is except for when the husband lights on fire.
Yes.
Because she tries to burn something.
Yeah. She doesn't
and
even...
the demon's like, fuck you.
Yeah. She doesn't even give an argument. She's just like, she just begs him. She's like, can you please just burn it? Like, just trust me, please just burn it for me. Do it. And then he wouldn't do it. And then she killed him, basically.
Yeah. And you see her, she's totally freaking out, losing her mind, totally scary. And that leads into the very next scene.
Yeah.
Which YouTube won't let us talk about, which is fine. But from a practical effects, acting, realistic cutting of the throat and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When you said earlier about the sound design, all that stuff, like that, the sound that like, cause it doesn't cut to her until that sound happens.
Yeah.
And then that sound makes him like, what is that? And it's disgusting. You look up and like, just for that to be the sound, like
now did she choose that or did Paimon choose that?
I think Paimon chose, for the way I took it.
Because she started to rebel against this entity a little bit. Like that's the point of the book burn.
Also, I think Paimon wants a male body. So I think all routes led to Peter because it needed to be someone of Queen Lee's bloodline.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be the husband. So I think he was everything.
So you think Paimon?
I think Paimon killed herself because I think unalived herself. We can run that back. This is one where I was kind of just sitting there extrapolating a little bit. I'm not sure how strongly I feel about this, but every time the possession changed, it was during a moment of like severe weakness. So I think
that's true.
So I think for Paimon to get himself into Peter the Son, I think he had to like actually break him mentally.
Yeah.
And then when he, makes his little jump from the attic, that's when
it's just a little jump.
Yeah, it's just a little,
not a big jump, just a little jump.
But that's when we see and the first time we even see like the embodiment of a changeover, we see that little thing kind of run down and hit him in the back. Then he gets up. It's done. It's over. Movie's over.
Yeah, I mean, well, almost.
Not dead, cut.
Charlie,
but he's done.
Charlie does come back.
Well, I think Charlie and Paimon ended up in Peter is what happened. They called him Charlie at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're both in there right now.
Right. And I think weird.
Charlie was helping Paimon get there.
So that Charlie could do it next time.
Yes. That's what I think.
Interesting. Toni Collette just putting on a clinic. Like that's, dude, I cannot express how much you need to see this movie and you need to look at it against other performances involving grief.
Yes.
You've never seen depression like this, and you've never seen someone actually get the no of it all when something goes wrong and have you believe it. I've never seen anything like it. Okay. There's more to this than just Toni Collette. The acting of Peter.
Yes.
And Charlie is spot on, but I want to highlight one specific thing. The Peter being possessed scene in the school where he's shaking uncontrollably. That's just acting.
Yeah.
That's just acting. And his face is so messed
Yeah.
Messy. I don't know how he did it. So that kid also putting on an absolute clinic. But yeah, his hands up, and they're like, "Why is your hand up?" And then it cuts to him, and he's like foaming at the mouth a little bit. Just
I'm also pretty sure he actually smacked his head off that desk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fairly certain.
Dude, that was unbelievable acting.
Right.
Unbelievable acting. And it's just complemented by the direction. The directing, I think, is unbelievable. I want to talk about hidden Easter eggs that are in this.
Yes.
But I want to do that after I hear from you about the story element itself and why you don't think it's a horror movie.
I think it is. I don't want to say it's not a horror movie, but I think that's not its primary focus, if that makes sense. I think it's called Hereditary, so that's why I know this is intentional. The title itself kind of says this, but I think it was very much a commentary on familial mental illness, on grief, on the intensity of human emotions. And I think that making it about horror and demonic and supernatural at the end kind of lends credence to the idea of you can feel so normal but be having all these underlying things going on. So like having it be not supernatural until the very end, it's like that's when you realize like, oh, like holy crap, like this is like, get out of there, what are you doing? Like the entire time I'm like, who's doing this, like what's going on? Like I'm like trying to figure out the intricacies of it. And all of a sudden it's a demon. I'm like, oh, you should have been dealing with this a long time ago. That's easy. So that's why I think it's a horror movie, but it's more than that. I think it's using horror to kind of, which is the most unrealistic thing in the world. Well, sometimes the most unrealistic thing in the world, demons are. Yeah. But I think using an unrealistic thing to kind of...
Can you freeze frame that on Ozzy right after that and just write atheist underneath and slowly zoom in?
That is...
Because demons aren't real.
That is a fact.
Just la, la, la.
No, but I think that using a very supernatural, unrealistic thing to complement something that millions of people go through every day, I think that kind of... That was very cool to me to see using horror to be like at the very end, like that's how bad it can get.
A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that too. I know that there's a movie about like Alzheimer's or dementia or something that's about like this old house of like vines and stuff, and it's like something about the grandmother losing her mind and the experience that the people are having. And I think it's called like House of Ivy, or maybe it's just called The House or something, but it's a good watch, but it does kind of a similar thing of we're going to deal with a mental issue. We're going to deal with some sort of, not necessarily illness, but something that does occur in the mind in normal life, like some sort of tragic element that people have to deal with. And we're going to use a horror movie to kind of showcase that. I think the best horror movies do that.
I think so
you
too.
Really got me on a... You really got me thinking today, Oz.
Well, that I was definitely in a thinking mood when I watched, for sure. I was doing that, but I agree. A lot of the best horror movies do that, but I think that's what makes it so accessible, and that the reason why is because, at least with this movie, but similarly to other ones, you think the whole time I did not see the actual demon thing coming until she pulled out the cult.
No, me neither. Absolutely not.
For it to feel like like a psychological thriller the whole way, and then at the last second it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is demons. Like shit's fucked.
Yeah. Well, also I think you get the idea that there's demons and stuff, but you have no idea that a cult's coming.
Well, I think that we were talking about demons, but at least me as a viewer, I didn't believe it because I was like, you're fucking crazy.
Right.
Like, I don't believe you. Like,
it's presented beautifully.
Yeah, you're sleepwalking and you're fucking trying to kill your family right now. That's how I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, there's actually a demon that was
just the Peter thing. Yes. That's the part where I'm like, something's off.
And then Joan was across the street before that.
Yeah.
And that's what caused that.
Yes. I'm so glad you just did that.
Good.
Because not necessarily Easter eggs, but background acting in this movie is so important.
They drop so many little bits, and pieces.
This person's out the window. This person's over here. Everyone's just weirdly looking at Charlie, but they don't allude to it. Very much. Did you see, what was that movie on? What was that show on Netflix everybody watched like 3 Halloweens ago? They made a follow-up series. Oh, what was it called? Come on, Tara, you can do this. Haunting a Hill House.
Oh, I thought about that about 10 minutes ago. Yes.
Of like that there are ghosts in that show,
Yeah.
the camera isn't going like, whoa, look over here. No, they're just there doing nothing.
Right.
They got that from this movie.
Yes.
They had to have, because this movie perfects that.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about it is, yes, there's a cult, but they've been showing you the cult members
The entire movie.
the entire time in the background.
Yes.
So originally I was like, oh, Easter eggs, but no, it's like, it's there for a purpose, but the cameras are not moving in a way to make you realize they are there.
You have to be paying attention to see it.
Excellent.
So like the big one that stuck out to me was that print that was drawn in blood in the attic.
Yes.
That was on the telephone pole, but on the way to the party.
Interesting.
Yeah, I caught that
on the pole that she loses her head on.
Yes, and then her head comes off on the way back. Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. It was when I noticed that this morning when I told you I was doing my little spot. You know, I go back to the good scenes. I'm like, oh, that was great. That one, I noticed that on the way to the party. I'm like, that sigil's right there.
Yeah.
So like everything was there for you. It was just we weren't paying enough attention.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a shitload of Easter eggs. That's true. But one of the best versions of that is, if you're not paying attention to that stuff, all of a sudden there's just naked people.
Yes.
All of a sudden.
Yep.
Everyone naked, though, you've seen before in the movie. You didn't know you saw them.
Right.
So now it's time where I like to play my favorite game. How many big old flopping wieners did you see in this movie?
Old white guy.
Yep.
The person immediately after the girl that came out of the corner in that little tube thing. That was that.
Blink and you miss it.
I never jump scare any movie. That one got me.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
I jump scared a ton in this movie.
I'm gonna think I forgot one, so I'm gonna say three flopping dicks.
Three flopping wieners. I think it's probably closer to 8 or 9.
Eight flopping wieners.
8 or 9 flopping wieners, and I'll tell you why.
Maybe I blacked out. I don't know.
So there's some that you see, like basically the end of this movie is like in like a treehouse or something, and
in that little like shed thing.
Yeah, and that shed has been converted to a cult thing that is in worship of this demon called Paimon.
Yes.
And everyone's nude in it. I think are they fornicating?
No, they're nude and prostrate, bowing.
Right, they're bowing.
Yeah.
However, what I think is the coolest part of this movie is if you increase the brightness of this movie on a second rewatch, there are naked people in the shadows of the shots the whole time.
Yes.
And you can literally only see it if you increase the brightness.
Yes.
When they show that tent the first time, like when it's just there, they're there.
Right.
They're in that shot. They're just in the background and stuff, but you have to literally increase your black level on your TV to see it.
Which
that's fucking direct.
That is direct, and that's the nuance with that is perfect.
Oh.
And which I had this thought kind of heading towards the end of it, but then when I noticed that people were in the shadows, that I knew I was right. I think part of the vibe they were going for was this family from the start of the movie, the very start, because Queen Lee's dead, unalived.
You can say dead, you just can't say the S word.
The other one. Got it. They it felt the entire time like they were being watched, like whether I'm the viewer watching them or like I don't know, it felt like they were in like
voyeuristic?
It felt like they were in like a snow globe and as we're watching this movie, and then it turns out they were, because they've had this cult circled around them the entire time.
They're in one of those Krampus balls. You ever see Krampus?
Yes.
This movie fucks.
Yes, that's exactly how I took that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like that. I mean, again, the intentionality of this movie just leaves so many people to shame. You know, it's all of this had to be conscious thought from the writer and director, and I believe Ari Aster was both. I think. Dylan, you want to Google that?
I'm actually.
He was.
Yeah, fact check.
Yeah,
I think he was though. Yeah.
Genius Dylan says he was the writer and the director. So, okay, so that means for sure everything was thought out, everything was intentional for this movie. And the fact that he's repeated it twice shows just how seriously he's taking all of these little nuances and itty bitty things and applying them with technique and style and story. It's just
color.
Great.
It was, you ever seen the movie 13? It's Evan Rachel Wood and
13.
Yeah, they're it's back in the day, but they're two teenage girls.
I'm thinking of 8th Grade with Bo Burnham's movie.
Definitely
so no,
not
I
the
haven't
same
seen
thing.
13.
13, not going to get into it, but throughout the whole thing, it's like a descent of a mental decline, and you don't realize it till the end, but they go very slowly from color to grayscale throughout the entire movie. And then by the end, when she's like falling apart, like it's straight black and white. Oh, so definitely watch it if you haven't seen it.
Cool.
But I got a similar vibe
Evan
from
Rachel Wood was Josie and Josie and the Pussycats.
Evan, if you ever watch this movie, please hit me up.
Oh, wait, no, she wasn't. I'm thinking of Rachel Lee Cook. I like Rachel Lee Cook, but
I don't know who that is.
Evan, whatever
Rachel
her name
Wood?
was, she's the one that was in Westworld.
Yes. Yeah. And
I love these little segments that we have.
But I did that. I had a similar feeling as that in this movie, in that, when things seem okay, it's like colorful, they're outside, but then like when like you're not sure what's going on or things are descending, they're inside, they're dark, they're in an attic. Like you said, like you had to turn the brightness up just to see some of the detail. Like,
yep.
Again, intentional. Like someone sat there at the computer and said, "Nah, drop that. I don't want them to see it."
Yeah, totally. Unless you go in your TV and change the fucking settings.
Right.
Like a couple of F-bombs this go around, but I think that's okay.
It's a rated R podcast.
No,
today.
but remember the brightest shot in the movie though is her head.
Yes. Yeah.
That was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like they were like, ah, shit, we ran out of days. We'll just go shoot this in the backyard.
Right.
Come on, guys, give me that prop.
Right. Yeah, it was
one of the greatest head props I've ever seen.
Oh, it was so good. So many insects on that thing.
Oh,
it was great.
Disgusting.
It was great. Also, like, how long was it? Did they leave it sitting? Oh, I guess overnight.
Well, clean up your trash, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah.
Unless they're trying to say, there was a demon in there. Although I don't think there was ever a demon in Charlie.
I think it was. I think that part.
Well, what are we doing? It's the grandmother talking to Charlie the whole time.
That's why they said at the beginning, again, very nuanced, because that's what they did. They kept dropping little nuggets in for us to remember later. But she said at the beginning, she was like, I had no relationship with my mother when Peter was born. She intentionally kept him away from her.
Yeah.
Because, she was looking for that male in her bloodline. But Charlie was grandma's best friend because that was okay. So I think Charlie, when mom died...
And you do see her at one point.
You're right. And I think Charlie, when grandma died, became the new host. And then all the death and the pain and all that was just his way to get to the man.
That makes yeah.
That's what I thought. That's how I read it.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. And then, Charlie, her spirit like inhabits something at the end.
I mean, Charlie carries Paimon all the way to Paimon or whatever, all the way to Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Joan calls Peter Charlie and then says, "You're one of the 8 kings of hell," or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's both in there for sure.
Yeah. Neighbors are bad.
Neighbors are terrible.
Can't trust neighbors.
No. Especially if anyone ever comes up to your car and says, "Let's do a seance," roll the window up.
A public service announcement from what the hell's the name of the show?
Listen you jerk. Listen, you jerk. Roll your window up.
So, I mean, final thoughts on this. This is a masterpiece. It warrants multiple viewings.
Yeah, for sure.
This writer, director, I just want him to keep doing more. I like his cadence too. It seems like an every 3-year type cadence.
Yeah.
Midsummer, I didn't enjoy as much because I'm more of a fan of true horror.
Okay.
Whereas that was more European horror, let's say. Like the horror of that is these weird European people.
Yeah.
And the poppy seeds and acid and all that stuff. But in that movie, I don't know about Beau is Afraid, but in that movie, there are hidden things in it as well, which is a nice carryover for someone to take.
Yeah.
For example, in that movie, there's a mountain range. And in the mountain range, very, very lightly dissolved in, is the shot of the sister after she just like killed herself when she's sitting in that thing. She's in the mountain.
Okay.
Like just essentially cross dissolved in just slightly. So there's like stuff like that throughout the whole movie. So very, Hereditary does it up to 10, but it's nice to see this guy carry on this extreme level of nuance, of Easter egg, of intelligence to creepy filmmaking and straight up gore.
Yeah.
This dude crushes
Out of
on gore.
nowhere.
This is like Sam Raimi level.
Yeah. It's like a slow burn, but then like randomly you get like gore punched into the entire movie.
But it's realistic gore.
Yeah.
So I say Sam Raimi, I mean Sam Raimi levels of blood, but not very similar to bring it back to Toni Collette. You know, Sam Raimi's the extra corny version of tons and tons of gore.
Right.
This guy takes the same amount of gore and doesn't play it for laughs and plays it for it's extreme, it's violent, it's scary, it's disgusting.
Right. It's actually
very similar to how Toni.
Undersold.
Yeah.
Because there
Very
would have been
similar
way more
to,
blood than if a head got ripped off on a blunt force strike.
Yeah.
Head gets ripped off. There's gonna be blood everywhere. He undersold it.
We got to test that.
Okay, I got a couple ideas. Jokes.
Ultimately, I think this is an absolute masterpiece. Everyone should watch it and then turn the brightness up and rewatch it.
Mm-hmm.
Toni Collette is putting on an absolute clinic, masterclass in acting, and I think that this does is it warms my soul the most because it's somebody going for it.
Yeah,
you could fall flat on your face making a picture like this.
Right.
Like I'm from the fucking 70s or something like that, making pictures with Scorsese.
You have an old soul.
I do.
The 70s. You're
I
from
do.
The 70s.
But you know, a film like this is so important to watch because it shows someone getting in the batter's box and like swinging, switch hitting, almost, and hitting a homer. You know, all of this is supposed to be too corny to work. It takes a master to create something like this and have us believe it.
Yes.
Master in acting being Toni Collette, master in filmmaking being Ari Aster.
Yep. Absolutely.
So listen, you jerk. Watch Hereditary, study Toni Collette's performance, and pray that Ari Aster continues to make this wonderful, wonderful work he does.
Listen, you jerk. Pay attention to the movies that you watch, and you will be enriched forever.
Thanks, everybody, for watching Listen, You Jerk. We just recently got some YouTube advice that says to get out of your content as fast as possible. So bye. Thanks to YUNKJunk.
YUNKJunk!